Welcome to Exiles, a Gospel of Mark podcast. We're coming to you from Grace Church in Erie, Pennsylvania, where we're taking what we learned about ancient truths in the person of Jesus into our everyday life. You can check out whoisgrace.com/Mark for the sermon and resources that we're using for our conversation. Thanks for joining us today for Season 4. This section of Mark, the King's Narrow Path, we're following Jesus and his disciples as they turn south from the region of Galilee toward Jerusalem. Each step of the way, Jesus reveals himself through his words and work, bringing his followers ever closer to understanding his identity and mission. So we wanted, hi guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Just want to start today with a quick kind of synopsis of where we are, both for where we are today and just so this ages well, this conversation ages well. So today is Thursday. We're 2 days after the 2024 election in the United States. We woke up in a country we've become all too comfortable in to the news of President-elect Donald Trump. And as Derek says in his sermon, he didn't know the election outcome when he first preached, but we know the election outcome while we're reacting to what he's preaching. So by the time you hear this, a week from today, we'll have a tiny bit of distance, probably not enough, but maybe some perspective has been able to settle. And we want to take this opportunity to just say, like, we called this podcast Exiles for a reason. And it's for days like today and weeks like now. 1 Peter 2 says, "Beloved, I urge you as sojourners and exiles to abstain from the passions of the flesh which wage war against your soul. Keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of visitation." So today you might still feel scared or like your rights are in jeopardy. You might feel triumphant that your government can make a safe place for your faith. You may wonder how anyone could vote for either and how certain friends or family could make a decision that's different from yours. Maybe you gloated, maybe you blocked a number, maybe you sat in silent judgment, and maybe none of this matters too much at all. But when the dust settles, the question is what will remain? When the people in your life think about you, what do you want them to think of? What we do know is this, and it's not just rhetoric. Our God is alive, well, and working in this world. Mm-hmm. And we're his ambassadors, and this world is not our home. We, the four of us, don't have it all figured out. None of us here at Grace do. But we're happy to be here to work it out in front of and with you. So thanks for walking as exiles with us. So as God does so often with our preaching team and Pastor Derek, he kind of lines things up. We knew this sermon was coming around this time, and as it got closer and closer, obviously that became more a possibility. So it's kind of cool that this lined up this way.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in with that tone, new Exile starting tone. What'd you guys think just in general of, let's just start with like, what's your life been like past couple days? As you're also listening to the sermon same time, what are your just general vibes and thoughts about life right now? And you can be as vague or specific as you want.
Yeah, well, my name is Mike. I'm one of the pastors here at Grace, and I voted for. I'm just kidding. Yeah. He's lighting that one up. We're coming in hard. I think. Again, God's providence. It's like God knows what he's doing or something.
Yeah.
The way this lined up and the way Derek was able to even preach and record and very cool. Good job, God. I have never, with this election specifically, I guess, I've always kind of known pretty quick who I'm voting for. This is like my fourth or fifth election or however many. Like, I know who I'm voting for. Mm-hmm. I literally, up until the day of, did not know who I was voting for.
So we can thank you for all the texts.
Oh my goodness!
And if I could have voted, wow, there are people that wow.
If a candidate had promised to stop the text, if someone had promised not to send me a bunch of crap in my mail, I would have voted for them strictly out of that.
I said that we should have started keeping a tally. Whoever did the less, boom.
It's like I'm so glad I'm in Pennsylvania, but like I hate that I'm in Pennsylvania right now.
Pennsylvania was wild. Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know. For me personally, for a lot of factors that we don't necessarily need to get into, but. It went down to the wire for me. Yeah, that's fine. And it hadn't before, and that was fascinating.
Yeah,
it's real.
Yeah,
I've heard that a lot.
Hi.
Oh, I wasn't really ready yet, but hi, my name is Sarah. I feel you on that. To be totally transparent, I'm over it. I'm so exhausted with it all. I am so fed up. Social media is gross the last couple of days, especially the day after, or the morning after election when I woke up and it was announced. Just the whole concept of how quickly people are just cutting people out of their lives, and because of who they voted for or however they're looking at the situation. And I think my biggest question is, but this isn't why you were friends to begin with. You weren't friends because of who you wanted for president or your political side. How is it so easy for you to just forget all about that because you're in a space of heightened emotion, because you're eventually going to calm down. This is all going to settle. And what are you going to do then when emotions are back to normal, I guess, in a sense? That's been really frustrating for me. And that's fair. I'm just
over it.
Yeah. Like, it's just so exhausting. And I was telling Ben about this the night that it was announced. And I said to him, my biggest thing right now that's heavy on me is I feel so bad for everyone who is scared, sad, like watching Kamala do her concession speech, the amount of crying and fear on people's faces in the crowd, it broke my heart. Like, it's just, these people are legit in a space of despair.
And I think no matter who would have won, I think we would have seen
similar
film,
And it just
the
made
human emotion.
Yes.
It's not so much who won and who.
It's just watching people, and it's just, you just want to be like, please don't put all your hope in this. There's so much more out there, and don't miss life because of a political standing. It's just, it really makes me sad, and that's where I'm at.
No, that's a really good point. And I think, so through all of this, it was funny, last week we got to spend some time with one of our older members of our congregation who's probably in the final days of his life. Sitting in a room with him, watching people tell him what impact he's had on their life was a great reminder in this season. No matter the outcome, God is on the throne. It's him who we serve, and the impact we have locally, the impact we have with the people around us in our sphere of influence, I don't think is very much persuaded by who's in office. Right. So, and again, for you to mention that, Sarah, like, they're, crying and mourning and grieving on one side. I think if it had been the other side, maybe there's anger and, whatever, there's going to be emotions, whoever wins. It's a good reminder that, like, we just need Jesus.
Yes.
Like, we really need, like, the hope of heaven. We need to recognize that we are not from here. Our citizenship is not here on earth. If we've been called to a higher purpose, offered salvation. So
what a lame reality if this is it.
Oh my
Wouldn't
gosh,
that be awful?
If your hope is in Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, I'm sorry, but you are setting your sights way too low.
Yes.
I want Jesus every day of the week.
Yes.
This is just a lame reality if this is it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's true. It's a good.
That's a really good point.
It's absolutely good. All right, so let's jump in because we're already talking about. We're going to talk about, which is great. So this, title of this sermon, it's coming out of is God or Government from Mark 12:13-17. If anybody wants to follow along, let me start us with this. So we have this quote that Pastor Derek started with. Tim Keller says, in this one simple sentence, Jesus refuses political simplicity, political complacency, and political primacy. In one little sentence, Jesus gives us a new way for Christians to think about their relationship with government. And his big idea summarizes that by saying, the politics of Jesus revolutionizes revolutions. So we're going to dip into that. Let's start first. His first point. These are just the three, I think it was three, three ways Jesus revolutionizes how we see God and government. Number one, God and government hold different places of authority in your life. Just general thoughts on this section. It's probably going to be hard to keep all this in sections because it very much bleeds.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic point, and then he even kind of brings the analogy of like work and family, which I think is another... two different spheres of our lives that often come into, they sometimes there's conflict, but you're constantly balancing your work life and your home life, and because seasons and ebbing and flowing and which one you're that doesn't mean you're being disloyal to one or the other, and that's something I think we can all. That doesn't take a whole lot for a lot of us to kind of recognize, to then take that concept and then apply it to, our faith and government. I thought that brought home the point to me, like, yeah, it can, there will be conflict at time, but you can actually be loyal to both as long as you're being loyal, you're prioritizing correctly, and your ultimate loyalty is going to the right thing.
Yeah, that's good. And I think it also, when our primary loyalty is to God, those things do hold different places of authority, but I think our allegiance to God in heaven should impact our response to government always, right? So the one should always impact the other. And I think it's just I think just in a political season where we kind of see, it should just, our response as Christians to government should always be through the lens of a holy God and what's pleasing to God. So, yeah.
That's good. We've talked about this before too, and I think sometimes another way that gets messed up is that we think we need a safe country, quote unquote safe, and quote unquote Christian government to protect our faith. But if you look around the world, if you look at the state of the American church compared to the state of some of these other churches in some of these other countries, I don't want us to be persecuted or anything, but it's not like it would hurt us.
So great, we're gonna go here. So I took a trip to southern Spain. That was kind of our vacation this year as a family. It was fantastic, but had a chance to spend a little bit of time in North Africa as well, and meet with had the incredible privilege to meet with some brothers and sisters in North Africa. They do not have the rights that we have, whether it's freedom of speech. If you're a Christian, there's no such thing as a Christian marriage. You will get married before an imam. Because, there's no, you will get buried within Islam. Those simple, basic rights they don't have, yet their faith, holy crap, I was blown away at the quality of their faith and the beauty of being able to, I was brought on the verge of tears a couple of times, meeting with some of these brothers and sisters in a way that, and that's not a knock on grace, but I was impacted in a way I've never been impacted here.
Yeah,
to
that's
see
fair.
them persevere. Yeah. So we don't need. This is great, and I love our country.
Of course, yeah.
But we don't. That's not the precursor. Kind of like what you're saying. You don't need what we have in America in order to have a vibrant faith. Yes. No, you can love and serve Jesus without this. Right. So why do we act as if our hope and the important precursor is these privileges that we have in our
any
country.
authority at that level is not going to do anything to God's authority, to Jesus' authority. But we act very often like it does.
Correct.
Yes.
They're dependent on it's dependent on.
Or that one side is fighting for for God.
Yeah.
And then the authority of God.
Yeah.
And that's just not, we muddy things up real quick and it doesn't work out.
Or even I feel like there's a reality too right now where people are like, how could God let this happen? How could God let Trump come in? Has anything to do with it? And it's no, for anyone who feels that way, it's so, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but from my standpoint, I feel like politics is so small and minimal to Jesus. It's so beneath him in a sense. So why do you think he's wasting all his time deciding who's going to be president of the United States?
Well, it's later on, we'll talk about this, but later on, he says, give Caesar what's due Caesar. Give God. I've got to go die now.
I'm so busy.
Yeah.
I have the important. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a hierarchy of what's important.
And I will say, our God is. And this is not what you're saying.
No,
there's some superfluous, but God is sovereign and providential. He control.
Yes.
God is. He knows exactly what's happening. Nothing surprises him. He's in control of everything. But yes, God is not sitting in his chair crap.
Yeah.
Donald Trump won. How am I going to do this? That is not
Oh,
how.
shoot. I didn't see that coming.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. All right. Second point, your primary identity and citizenship belong to God. And this is, this is more this, he was talking about people finding their personal identity in political affiliations.
the thing that he made a good point. I thought it was great. Just the image of the coin with Caesar's, he, used an icon on it, right? And then made the statement about we as human beings have the image. We are image bearers of God, that's cool. And that kind of speaks to this small little thing that people try to control, and Caesar's money and all this. Just like all these little, and then it's like no big picture.
That's good.
This is who we are. This is our identity. This is not, your identity does not belong to a political party.
That's great.
Your citizenship does not belong.
No.
It's not bound by a country. Our citizenship is in heaven. Our identity is in the eternal God of the universe.
And I even think about, this is what I thought about when I was watching the message. I was thinking, let's all, for 1 second, Jesus returns. And we're all in this powerful moment of his return. Do you think anyone's going to care at that moment about who's president? No one. Like, the power of that moment, nothing that is going on right now is going to matter. That's not what you're going to think about. That's not what you're going to think about talking about with him or anything like that. It's just, think about all that is to come and how powerful that is and how mighty he is. And maybe it just puts the perspective. I'm not saying that no one should take any of this seriously. They absolutely should. We're here. There's two sides of this.
Yes. We are here for a reason.
Yes. Yes.
So that does not go away.
No.
Yeah.
But it's you're right. It's like keeping yourself focused on why we are actually here and what our identity is. And it brings things into perspective.
America is not as special as we think she is. 250 years or whatever, great.
I remember being in England seeing a gravestone of a person that lived and died before America was even thought of.
Yeah.
And I was
Correct.
like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
It just broke my brain. We think we're just...
And you know what? I mean...
Bee's knees.
The empires rise and they fall. And this is one of the empires of the world that Jesus is fully in control of.
Yes.
And we're not that special. America's not going to last forever. The church will last forever.
Yeah.
But we're just I think we get this ethnocentric just vibe in all of us which is to an extent understandable because we're Americans and believe me, I'm patriotic. I love this country.
I do.
Guys, I've loved
Very
blood, sweat, and
grateful.
tears in a foreign country.
Of course.
To prove.
We'll
Yes.
vouch for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah.
But America's just not. It's not even in the second place. If there's church and then it's not even on the pedestal. The church is so much more important, so much longer lasting, so much more powerful, so much more impactful.
That's a good point.
Influential.
Yeah.
We're just not that special, and I think that can be a humbling thought.
But I think it was good. Even the point that Derek brought up about Jesus had to ask somebody for a penny.
Yeah.
And it was this worldly system that everybody was so concerned with. He was in that moment, to me, it says, it's outside of it all.
Yeah.
Correct.
We live in a system that's bound by, material things, bound by, time, space continuum. We live in a world that's bound. He lives in a world that is boundless.
Yeah.
And it's just a good reminder in this moment. And it doesn't mean that those things aren't important because we operate in that system and we have a call to stewardship over that system. We have a call to reach out and help and redeem and reconcile and restore, as Christians in this broken system. So we have a job to do, and that's very important, and that does affect how we ought to not only treat government, but interact and engage with government.
Yeah.
But what we have as Christians and what we get to invite people into is so far outside of this small thing that's it's so transient. It's so, momentary and fleeting. And, it's good.
That is really good. Sorry, in my mind, I'm going on a little tangent here.
Take us.
Maybe not.
Fun stuff.
Maybe edit this out. I was just thinking, I'm hearing you guys say these things, and I say some of these things, and I don't know. Sometimes some of this stuff can just be chalked up to just here they go again. Here's their stupid rhetoric. Don't worry about it. God's in control. Blah blah blah. I'm being cynical. I don't believe these things. I'm just being. And then I was thinking, I wonder if it's just because, you have, say, someone's social media, whatever, and, one post is, I don't know what, some horrible statement about something, and then the next post is, well, God's on the throne. And then the next post is, we have a hard time, I think, navigating in this like tumultuous world as Christians, sometimes publicly. And so I liked his point too about just sometimes like privately you need to just kind of do your thing. Sometimes public, sometimes private. But we have so many, forgive me, loudmouths.
Yep.
Oh, none of us elected any of these people that are like just speaking on our behalf as like the church. And so I think as like a downstream effect, it makes it more difficult to be able to say things like this and have your neighbor go, oh, they're being sincere. Like they actually believe that God is more important than these things. Their life shows me that they believe these things, you know? Anyway, that was a ramble, but that's difficult for me practically.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's sometimes it almost feels like, well, we don't care. Well, God's on the throne. We don't really care about anything else.
We're like dismissive.
And like that's not representative of who I am. I care deeply about a lot of these issues. Yeah. But I think again, it's this call to be citizens of a different place under the authority of a different king, a different kind of king, a different, it's just so far outside of that. So I think, you're right, Danielle. I think we have to understand. And I heard at one point, from a guy that I listen to a lot, he's just, like Christianity is a thinking person's religion. Like we have to engage our minds fully. So all of these issues matter. They matter not only, I think, to, our own personal beliefs and moral systems, but they matter to our neighbors. So they should matter to us as well.
That's good.
And so when we take into consideration how my life, my views, the way I talk about the things that I believe in, all of that matters, and it models who my king actually is.
Yeah, that's good.
So it can't just be like, well, God's on the throne. It can't just be like, well, I'll pray for you. No, pray for that person right there in the moment. Take the opportunity to really engage, not just give some Christian colloquialism that doesn't really mean much.
Yeah,
and I would even say, don't worry, God's on the throne. I would not say that to someone who's not a Christian.
Some people do, though.
Well, so that's wild to me, because if you're a Christian and you're getting wrapped around the axe about who's winning this election to the point that it's like getting in the way of your faith, I'm going to correct you.
Good.
I'm going to tell you you're wrong, and I'm going to say God's on the throne, don't you forget it, and we can go deeper if we need to.
Yeah.
If you're not a Christian, though, your hope is potentially in it.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to sit there with you and be like, you're right.
Yep.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with women's reproductive rights, with immigration, with foreign policy, and I'm going to sit with them in their tears or in their excitement without feeding into it. But I'm going to
listen to them.
Listen to them, and then when they say, well, "Why are you so calm about this?"
Oh,
listen, my hope is in somewhere like. But I'm not just going to start slapping down, well, God's in control, don't worry, homie. Like, that's not helpful or productive.
It's a step removed, and it doesn't offer, I think, one of the greatest gifts. When I look at the gifts that God's given us to give to other people, even the gift that he gives us in the Spirit, it's his presence.
Yeah.
Can I be present with somebody? Can be actively listening and responding, right? That takes intentionality, it takes focus. Yeah. But it takes our presence and we actually being there in the moment with somebody. What an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
To begin a conversation that could lead to sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
And acknowledging, especially if you're on the other side of the fence of an issue and you're talking with a neighbor or family or whatever, and it's Thanksgiving, so I'm sure crap's going to come up. But
oh, man.
But say, pick your topic and say you don't agree with. Guess what? There are valid points on both sides of every argument. And to be able to step back and to be able to give a little and say, listen, I believe this, but I understand your point about that. And to hear and to listen and that's the two-way conversation you're talking about that creates relational capital, that creates the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the reality is most people are going into that conversation immediately on the defense. They're ready.
Yep.
They're ready to like defend themselves. They're ready for someone to say something mean to them. And when that doesn't happen, it almost throws them off guard. Like, whoa, yeah, it's disarming. And that's good because unfortunately it's usually what's happening in that space is it's not good. It's tension. Yeah. They're ready for a disagreement. They're ready to defend themselves. And by not acting that way back to them, you're right. It's just going to throw them off, and it's almost like starting the conversation over again. It's like a safe space. Like all of a sudden, it changes everything.
And you are demonstrating that your hope is not bound up in that issue or that candidate,
It's more
without
likely
words,
to lead to that
potentially.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. This was a section, I think, too, where he had the NASCAR example, right?
Okay,
About
I
the
am a
stickers.
NASCAR person, and I didn't even know that.
You didn't know how that works?
That's
No.
a crazy amount
You're
of
a
money.
NASCAR-
though.
You're a NASCAR fan?
I used to be a huge Harvick fan.
Who's your
What's a
favorite
Harvick?
Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick.
driver?
He was my
Or
favorite
how does
driver.
this-
So now I really don't have one because he's retired, and I don't really care anymore.
Can they turn right, or is it just left?
Well, they have to be able to back into stuff.
I've never seen
road course.
Well,
They
no,
walk
They
wait,
always go
well,
left.
They have
But
to
at-
go
but
right
at
to
the
get out of the
Glen.
pit.
You got
Yeah.
it.
Have you ever
Other than
seen
that,
So they
it's
can do a
just-
slight
I've
right.
seen it. They have
Have
to
you?
get out.
They
I've
take lefts all
watched
day.
cars several
I
times.
have
like common
seen
knowledge.
cars.
I can recite
And
it.
now I
amazing.
feel like I just don't get into it really anymore. I'm not really wowed by any of the new drivers. There's something.
Oh, wow.
Ben loves NASCAR, but I used to be real. I loved it for a long time, and I didn't even know that about the sponsors. But
Sarah, you have layers.
Yeah,
It's
she really,
it's
she
awesome.
really
It's
does.
amazing.
When you talk about an onion, it's
just-
like,
yes,
whoa, Sarah Marcosco.
yeah, so that was like fascinating to me. I was like, oh, I just figured they
So-
just throw a chunk of money, and that's just what it is. I didn't realize you're paying for a
So,
race.
so if you didn't hear this part of the sermon, he was basically explaining like there's certain parts of like the NASCAR car that gets sponsorships, and like the bumper's maybe more expensive than the side of the car. The hood is the most expensive part, whatever, and that these are all just stickers that they're laying on top like a water bottle or like whatever. And you would never be like, okay, you know,
Let's
person
cover
who
the big
owns a
one.
business, like put a dog rescue sticker on top of ExxonMobil on the hood.
Right.
I'm
Who
gonna
paid $1
see-
million?
Right.
for-
We paid $1 million for a sticker.
I want to see how much I can get for like my minivan. Like I have
Sarah
a lot
will
of
sponsor
viewership in
you.
Erie. That's
Actually,
like,
you know what?
yeah,
I
seriously.
will pay
commute.
you. Let's come up with a contract. I want my face on your van. We'll
For the right amount of money, we can make that
Figure
happen.
out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sidebar later. Yep, that's cool.
So the point is, we don't put these
The Mike Mobile.
these
No.
smaller identities on top of this main identity that we have. As
But they can
Christians.
both be on the
They
car.
can all be on the car.
You can have your
Yeah.
big Jesus sticker on the
Yes.
hood,
Yes.
Yeah.
and you can have your American flag on the side. You can
Yeah.
have
Yep.
your issue on the like.
Yeah, yeah,
They can coexist.
yeah. That's good.
And what I love about that analogy, though, is again, it's the M&M car,
Yeah,
right?
it's the M&M car.
It is the Home Depot car,
Yeah.
the Lowe's car, the
Yeah.
you know, Jeff Gordon was my favorite, so it was the DuPont car.
Oh, NASCAR.
that was the one, and you knew it was the DuPont car.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so again, that
Yeah.
primary identity, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
absolutely can. Other
There's a
stickers
zillion
can be
other
on.
stickers on those
Absolutely,
things.
Yeah.
absolutely, yep.
That's good.
So interesting.
Guys, it's hard to keep it all in place. It really is. It is. It legitimately is for most people.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
It's
a
o-
struggle. It's never gonna be perfect.
There should be no moment in your Christian walk where there's not tension somewhere.
Yes.
If there is, if you're perfectly at peace, you're doing it wrong, friend.
Or
Like,
you're just like literally almost dead, which is possible.
correct, which might
Yeah.
be the best place to be because you're about to be in heaven. But that's a whole nother. The point, if your politics and your faith are in tension, that's not inherently a bad thing.
No.
But it is a space to lean into Jesus and not just to hit the easy button and throw up a donkey or an
Yep.
elephant or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. All right. Last point. Only die on the hill Jesus chose to die on. I'll stop there.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
How many of the big ticket issues today are hills that Jesus would have died on? It's rhetorical, but I mean,
Right.
Yeah,
it is 100%
that is
rhetorical.
rhetorical, right? Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter how emboldened or righteous you feel about whatever particular issue, zero.
and I'll even dabble a little bit. I mean, yeah, you can edit this out. So I was about six months into my role when Roe versus Wade was overturned, and that was, I mean, seismic. I was
Seismic.
getting, people were wanting to like process things. I was getting face shots. That was just a wild period to be in. But again, there was one half, it seemed like, of people who were like, this is it, we've arrived, boom, we did it, we got rid of abortion, great. And there's another half that was terrified. What does this mean for me, especially women, my wife, even for my daughter? Like, what does that mean for them? Things have clearly changed since then, like pre Roe versus Wade versus now is
Sure.
things have changed. However, did any of the worst case scenarios anybody envisioned actually come to fruition? I don't think So, and I know there's a lot of nuance. I'm not trying to
you're
oversay,
fine.
but
Yeah.
was it? Yes, it is a big deal. But like, did any of those worst case scenarios happen? Trump's been president before, then Biden was president, and then did the world go up in flames? And again, I'm trying not to alienate anybody, but let's keep this.
Well, you have distance. We have from
Correct.
when that hot topic thing happened, when that hot button issue happened, we now have some distance from that. I mean, obviously it's circling the drain again, but we have distance from when it happened. And so you have that perspective now to be like, okay. And that's to your point. Like, what's left standing when all this is done and all these like hot-headed moments are over, and you can't talk to your mom anymore?
And now you got to clean it up because like,
Or not. And that's
and Jesus probably would die on the hill of honor your father and mother.
right.
But I don't know if he would die on
love
the hill
one
of
another.
pick your topic.
Yeah, that's the thing when I think about that statement. Only die on the hill Jesus chose to die on. He went to die on a hill, and carried the sins of all of us up that hill with him. Put himself on the cross with all those sins. So that the deep care and love that he felt for absolutely everyone in that moment really should be our response. That's the hill we ought to be dying on, is that I love my neighbor. You know, I love the Lord with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength, and I love my neighbor as myself. And does my life reflect that? Do my actions reflect that? Do my words reflect that? Do my words reflect, my actions and words reflect a gracious and safe space for somebody who I might disagree with to actually lean in and listen? Because if it doesn't, I don't have a witness. Correct. I don't have a witness with that person. Right. And I'm not on the same hill that Jesus was on. I'm not representing a space that he would, I think would be honorable to him.
Yeah.
So it's, that's
really
I had a previous pastor of mine, and he was just like, is your bumper sticker ruining your witness?
Oh,
that's great. Yeah.
Is your Facebook ruining your witness?
The answer is yes. If anybody's asking that question,
that's another rhetorical one.
Yeah.
Is it worth slapping a Trump or a Harris sticker on your bumper if you're going to alienate half the people you're going to interact with? Right. Is it worth it? Is it worth posting a celebration or a desolation post if you're going to alienate half of the people in your life?
Yeah.
What's most important?
Right.
Well, if that's the one, like, is that the only thing you're going to allow people to know about you?
Right.
Is that like, is that it?
Right.
Right.
Where's the mix?
Because that is, sometimes it is. It's the only. Because if it's the first and it's opposite me, that's the only thing they're ever going to know about me.
Yeah.
That's the only label. That's the big sticker on the car.
Yeah.
Is that one that I choose. And that just, and it's funny because I'm standing here thinking in the back of my head, Addie and I had this conversation this morning, actually, my wife, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. We have very strong, deep political opinions on a lot of different issues. And I want to make that clear. Like, I do actually have very strong, deep-rooted, feelings about a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
But they don't trump my witness. Oh, yeah, that was a buzzword. Sorry. They don't, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't go above.
That's not the first thing we think of when we
my
see
responsibility,
you.
because I'm not a citizen of here, I'm a citizen of somewhere else. My responsibility first is to Jesus. My allegiance first is to the kingdom of God. And that should dictate how I talk about, where I talk about, when I talk about the things that I hold near and dear to my heart. Yeah.
And the way Derek said it, and you're saying it, is how you present your political passions is just as important as the passions.
Absolutely.
Probably more.
More. Yes.
I mean, what does Paul say? I become all things to all people in order to witness for Jesus.
Yes.
Like, I'd become if you could guarantee someone's gonna come to faith in Jesus if I switch political parties, I'd do it. Screw it.
That's the stakes, though.
Yeah.
That's the stakes, right? I mean,
you're like laying all that on an altar, literally.
Well, part of it is like if that's all I'm laying on the altar,
that's
Great,
easy.
that's
Right?
easy.
Yeah.
I'll write Pennsylvania right now.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
I'll do
come
whatever
to,
you
like,
want.
I'll tell them to switch my affiliation. Let's do it.
It's
Now we'll get some Exiles emails.
Here we go. Oh yeah, send your questions. Maybe we'll get questions this week. Did we get any? We didn't get
Maybe.
any.
We'll see.
They go to Danielle first.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. All right. Other general thoughts. Was something burning inside of you haven't been able to share?
Just don't miss life, man. Don't miss it.
So good.
Don't miss it. Like,
Wow.
don't
Yeah.
That's gonna be the bumper sticker on my car.
miss life.
miss life.
Don't spend so much time in a beautiful world full of so many amazing people and things and fun, getting yourself worked up day in and day out about politics. Just don't. Like, make it a part of your life, but don't just. He's made such an incredible world, and you're missing it.
Yeah, that's good, Sarah.
Stop
That's
it.
really good. Yep.
And there's just, if you even just like think about yourself as a human and what it feels like when someone says, oh, you are whatever label, you are a Democrat, a Republican, you hate women, you are a warmonger, like whatever all these different labels are. Don't do that to people. You're putting up a wall, especially as Christians. You're putting up a wall immediately, and you're stopping that conversation from being able to be had. If you're looking across the street at your neighbor and they have a political sign in their yard that you disagree with, you can immediately start to assume. You can be like, well, they're this, they're that, they're this, and the other thing. Or, like you guys are saying, just go.
Yeah.
Just
talk to them.
How many times do we do that and we don't even know their name?
Right. You're just dismissing.
Yeah.
You're dismissing people.
a human being.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just sad.
It is really sad. Was it always like this? Or was it just because I was young and a child and I didn't know? So was it like this with my parents?
I don't know, but in election seasons, this is kind of a fun exercise. Go back and watch some of the like Walter Mondale, Ronald Reagan debate.
Yeah.
They're
like,
so funny and they're so respectful. It's
so
such
nice.
a
Is
different.
Yeah, they're like,
so
hey,
different.
George Bush.
Like,
Like,
we
wild.
love. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of those are hilarious.
Oh, they're so.
Really?
But they're
Reagan was
hilarious
funny.
because
He
it's
was
like-
great.
Because they're still like barbing each other, but like,
Yeah.
Not at
Mr.
all.
Vice President.
There is not one ounce of sarcasm. There's not one ounce of disrespect. Go ahead.
The one Mondale one was
they actually
like
talk
Ronald
about
Reagan
this?
was like, I don't want to make age an issue of this political debate. He's like, I will not exploit my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Yeah.
And everybody, even
It
Mondale's
was a
cracking
joke.
up.
Yeah. It was
And it's
funny.
but it was
Yeah.
just like it was respectful.
Yeah.
And it was so different.
But I think
okay.
I've actually been thinking about that a lot over the last like week or two. Was it always like this? And I just don't remember because I was little. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
I don't remember my parents ever getting riled up about stuff.
We and Pastor Eric talks about it. We have literally attached identity to politics. We have made politics a religion. It is discipling people. The ideologies of different political parties are discipling people more than
The exposure
Jesus
is so much different.
Do you think it's because it's easier?
oh, so
It's so easy, right?
We like black and white or
it's
red and blue.
easy,
Right?
and
Yeah.
you also can immediately be accepted into a group without also any work.
Correct.
Yeah,
You
that's
are
great.
digitally
Yeah.
accepted
Yep.
as like
Ooh.
right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You don't have to sit here
Absolutely.
like we have to. If one of us said something really off right now,
Yeah.
You'd hold us accountable.
we would have to go talk. We would
Yeah.
go talk
Yeah.
about it. We're not like
Yeah.
like just keyboard warrioring it and just going.
I can
Yeah.
show
To
up
the
at a
fridge.
Always protected by the phone or the
I can show up at a rally
Yeah.
and I've got people, I've got
You
a
got people-
tribe
you're already-
without even having to. There's no depth, but I can just say
You're in.
and they're validating you
Fascinating.
and
That's a
justifying
thought.
everything. Yep.
Just and you're getting you're getting
Instant
almost
justification.
instant,
Yep.
instant gratification, instant validation.
But there's
Yeah.
no depth.
Nothing.
Zero
There's no accountability. There's no real knowing of yourself by. That's a fascinating thought.
Wow.
Actually, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, that's
good.
and it is. It's ease is
It's
a big
just-
part of it.
But it's also
Easy
not
right
worth
there.
it.
Yeah.
No.
It's not.
It's shallow. It's not. That's not the connection your soul was created for. Come get that harder, better connection in Jesus' church.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Don't settle for. That's fascinating.
Yeah, like I know people have community outside of church. I know that exists.
Yep.
But there is a level to the community if you'll let it at church, in a church body. It's just different.
And
It
it
literally is
supersedes-
siblings. It's like we've talked about this before. Like there's almost like should be like a sermon on a theology of like siblinghood. Like it's a thing. It's a real thing.
And
Yeah.
it supersedes every other.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we went hard today. Good for us.
Wow, good for us.
Sorry, not as many jokes
Proud of
as
us.
usual, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, but all right. So I tried to Pastor Derek didn't have an actual discipleship question, I think because all 4 of them relate. So you can go to whoisgrace.com/Mark to get those. And I want to close again, just how we opened, just by reading. This time I want to read part of Pastor Derek's sermon, especially for those of you who didn't hear it. So I'm going to read this and then we'll say goodbye. When Jesus Christ says, I'm the king, not Caesar, I'm bringing the kingdom of God, it's going to not be Caesar's kingdom. He's not saying, I'll replace Caesar. I'm a better Caesar. This kind of king is not going to be a better king. He's bringing an utterly different concept of kingship. Therefore, he's bringing an utterly different concept of revolution. His movement revolts against revolts. It revolutionizes revolutions. When we think about the clarion call of Jesus in the greatest sermon ever preached, he said, you're the light of the world. A beautiful city on a hill that cannot be hidden, not made of bricks and mortar, but of people. A church that will be an ornament of God's love, of God's grace. And they'll shine so brightly that there won't even be a dark corner left for people to hide in. And what's this light that Jesus talks about? He tells us what the light is. The light is the good deeds of believers that happen in cities and towns and little communities all over the world. Lives so beautiful, so sacrificial, that there's no question whose lives they belong to. Whose lives these people belong to. No question where those people are citizens first. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God's. What is God's? You are. Give your whole self to him. We'll see you next week.